Super cool.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to MAEVE Burbank Presents our speaker series. Today we're doing a couples workshop. Thank you, everybody, for coming on here today. Apologize, I'm not on camera. I'm fighting a cold right now, but thanks, everybody, for coming on. Just wanted to do a little intro for our host tonight. Or is a wife, mom, and doctor of natural medicine. Her husband and her have three kids, a 14-year-old stepson, an almost 18-year-old stepdaughter, and an almost 6-year-old son. As a quantum doctor, Or has a private practice where she sees client in person and virtually to support them through emotional, physical, and energetic issues, specifically women with cycle and autoimmune related issues. She does a very unique mix of therapy and energy work. She is also the co-founder of the Heart Institute, offering energy medicine, online workshops, and support empaths and intuitives. Lately, she's been doing more of in-person events and gatherings in Burbank and incorporating more work with couples in her practice. So, Or is a new member to MAEVE. She joined in December, and we want to welcome and thank her for hosting tonight. Thank you, Or. I'll toss it to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Ashley. Thank you all for being here. I'm really excited to share some goodies with you. And I'm really excited that there's some, full-on couples here. Um, I will, as Ashley said, I mostly work with women, um, but I am going to try to incorporate you guys, the husbands, into this as much as I can, because I really, really appreciate your presence. And I always say this whenever I do a workshop, especially in person, and there's a man in the room, it like really, really helps ground us all because we are very in tune with our emotions and we flow and we're kind of like the water, and you beautiful men help us ground and create kind of like the structure for us. So thank you for doing that. Okay, so Ashley introduced me. Let me see, how do I make this work? I just want to make sure that, okay, the slides are moving. Yes, no, maybe, are they? Yes.
Yes.
um they are. Okay, cool. So I'm a doctor of energy medicine, and I have been married to my husband for 7 years. We've been together for 13, raising our kids for that long, because I became an instant mom when we met, to his then 2 and 5-year-olds. And they've been with me ever since. Um, and we also have a son together who is almost 6 years old. And in my practice, I work with mostly women. And what I've noticed over the years of being in practice is that so much of what's happening within our relationships correlates to our physical well-being, and so much of what's happening with our physical well-being correlates to our relationships, emotions, energy, and so on. And the other thing that I've noticed over the years is that women who are on high alert and who don't have a regulated nervous system rarely feel supported by their partners. And so it's kind of like a catch-22, because we kind of expect the support to happen, but we also don't allow the support to happen. So when we don't allow the support to happen, no matter how much we're being given and provided for, we aren't able to receive it. And so our nervous system is still on high alert, and we can't calm down. We can't ground into the support as it's coming and being provided. So I'm going to share a little bit about my husband, and this little story that kind of ties into relationships. So my husband absolutely loves me. He shows up for me and our family every single day. He is kind and caring. He goes to work super early every morning and comes home very, very late at night. Um, I love sleeping next to him. It grounds me, helps me feel safe and comfortable. And I feel very much taken care of. Every morning when my husband goes to work, sometimes it's like 4 in the morning or 5, he gets up, takes a shower, and then before he leaves, he gives me a kiss while I'm still half asleep. And I'm filled with like the best feeling, right? Like I'm so in bliss, I'm taken care of, I'm loved, all is well. Oh, I think there's people. Sorry, people are trying to come in. Let me admit them. Um, I'm loved, all is well, all is good, right? And then I wake up and I go to the bathroom. And my next slide, I see this. There's towels on the floor and it's messy and there are dirty clothes and everything I felt 5 minutes before disappears. And where I go to in my brain is he doesn't care about me, he's selfish, he doesn't appreciate anything I do, he's disgusting, and like I'm so exhausted. I just can't stand it, right? So quickly I can go, and this is just an example of when, like of a circumstance, but so quickly I can go from being like on cloud nine, feeling good, feeling the connection, feeling the partnership, feeling the love, to like, this is awful by something so simple, right? So for so long, I connected towels on the floor to not being cared about, right? Like this, like such an emotional connection to something so simple. And one day I had a realization and I asked myself, are these things really true? Is it really true that the towels on the floor are, that they symbolize, and the interpretation to it is that he doesn't care about me? And I looked into this with him and with myself. And what I realized is that he's waking up at 4 in the morning and he's not thinking about putting the towel in the right place. All he's thinking about is, I have to get up and go to work. So, of course, these things are not true. I have to get up and go to work and take care of my family. That's like his main priority is like, how do I get out the door? He and men in general, they don't connect the state of the sink or the towels or whatever is happening in the house like that with their love and appreciation for us. So, what are we actually fighting about when we fight as couples? Or what do we think we're fighting about? We think we're fighting about like phone and screen time. Those are like the most common things. Money, who we talk to, who we're not talking to, our friends, the community, the people around us, dishes, kid stuff, responsibilities, right? These are some of the things that we think that we're fighting about, or sex and intimacy. But the things we're actually fighting about, the things that are super, super critical to all relationships, are actually feeling safe, feeling respected, and feeling cherished. These are like the three main needs that that are like underneath every single fight that we have. If each of us, without expectations, try to focus on creating that safe space for our partner, we would completely transform our relationship. Creating safe space respecting each other, and feeling cherished. So why are we even in relationships? Why are we in a marriage? Why are we in a partnership? There are two main reasons: to evolve individually and to evolve collectively. And what does that mean? Evolving individually is like, so many of us are like self-help. How do I take care of myself? How do I become a better
10,
person? Hi, cat. If
6, 7, 8, 9,
Oh, hi,
10,
little one.
sorry,
Let's put in
10.
mute. Thank you. um, we are so into like the self-care stuff, right? We want to really evolve as humans, and our relationships are part of how we do that. So individually and then collectively, right? We have families, we have people in our lives that learn from us, right? Learn behavior, learn energy. They grow with us. And so the reason for any type of relationship, and it doesn't just have to be a romantic one, it can be a business one, friendships, any kind of relationship, is to either grow collectively or individually. All relationships are part of our sacred contracts here on earth. So we're all here for a reason. We all have lessons to learn, something to bring, something to bring out in the world, right? And so all relationships that we have are a part of a sacred contract that we have. What if everyone we come into relationship with is here to support us in being better versions of ourselves? So what if we look at every argument, at every fight, at every conflict as like, this is my chance to raise the vibration of myself and my community and my family and the world? How would that change the way that we argue, the way we have conflict, the way we listen to each other, the way we say no, thank you, or what would change there? And what if the support looks completely different than what we expect it to look like or what we're used to, right? So much of this connects to how we were raised and what we think that things should feel and look like, right? So like, if we think that we should be cradled into evolution or into evolving to be better versions of ourselves. And what if that's not the case? What if the person that we're in conflict with in the relationship, what if through that conflict is how we raise our vibration, is how we kind of look at ourselves through a different lens? What happens if we change our thinking? We understand the world through the lens that we've been conditioned to see through, right? The way that we were raised as kids. And it's based on our upbringing, on our own personal beliefs, our own history, patterns, and stories, as well as generational ones. So ones that you lived through with your parents and your grandparents and your families, but also energetically, those patterns of your ancestors are connected into your DNA. They're connected into what is called the supramental body. And so in that space, in the subconscious space, we literally hook into all the history, right? So like, as the way we act in the world, the way we act in our homes, unless we bring awareness to it, and we're a generation of parents that's completely different than previous ones, right? We're learning, we're taking classes on how to parent, we're reading books on how to parent. We're really trying to do things differently. And as we're trying to do things differently, we can feel the emotional resistance to doing that, right? It's not easy. It's it takes so much work to like come down on your knee and look your child in the eye and ask them questions and have conversation, and not just say, do this because I said so, or go there because I said so. It's we're we're making an effort with our kids. And so part of this work is making an effort with our partners just in the same way. And it can be very challenging because a lot of the time we're not on the same page. We don't look at things the same way. We're both adults already. We're both are coming to the space with all of our past. And so we both have so much to work through and feel through, and every exchange has the weight of the past in there. The lenses that we come with are designed to keep us safe and protected, right? And that looks so different for each person. So for somebody who the lens is looking at the world, I had a interaction with a good friend the other day, and his wife is very high, I should say fear-based, right? She's fear-based. There's a lot of chaos in her life. So he said, I asked him how things are. How are you? What's going on? And he said, well, it all depends on how you look at it. I walk into the house and I see shoes on the floor, and they're just shoes. And my wife walks in the house and there's shoes on the floor, and the whole world is chaotic because of it. And so the lenses that we wear are designed to keep us protected. And that protection sometimes feels like a lack of protection, right? Sometimes we feel in complete fear, and sometimes we feel in complete openness and trust. And that depends on how we were brought into the space. Taking off the lenses, right? If we want to change our thinking, can be super vulnerable and really, really scary. And what does it require? It requires a huge amount of trust. But do you trust each other? Right? Isn't that like the ultimate question? Like, do we trust each other? And then we have to ask, what is trust? Right? So like we know trust as like relying on someone, right? Like the ability or the strength of someone or something, and we can rely on that ability. But trust can look differently with each person, right? So if we can look at what trust is not, right? So relying on someone to always do what we want them to do is how we normally look at trust. But that's not actually what trust is, right? Trusting someone doesn't mean you're always going to like the truth that you hear from them. It doesn't mean that they're always going to come and save you and take care of you, right? Trust is not having unrealistic expectations. So an important part of trusting someone is also being clear in your awareness and it's part of taking off the lenses. It's being in reality, having a reality check with life of what am I actually receiving? What am I actually trusting? What can I actually count on? I had a therapist once who, we talked about managing expectations, and she gave me this this example of like, if you're driving in the car to go to Disneyland with your kids, if you expect everything to go super smoothly, right? You get in the car and nobody is, everybody just sits quietly or they're super happy. Sorry, just a second. And, the whole hour and change car ride, there's no traffic and you get there really fast. And if you have these expectations and then you get to the car and then you have a grumpy teenager and your kid needs to pee and somebody's hungry and somebody's grumpy and it's too early in the morning and there's traffic, your expectation just everything drops, right? And now you're disappointed. But being honest with yourself about what you can expect of someone will level that out, right? So that's part of what trust can also be too, right? Like I can trust that in the morning when I wake up, the towels will probably be on the floor. Right? So you can trust that you can ask your kids to go to bed like 3 or 4 times and it'll you'll still need to ask them or pick up the shoes or whatever, right? So and the reason I use this little gif here where she's like trying to catch him, if you just look at it, you can see she's not going to be able to catch him. She has no groundedness. She's not in her body. She's not looking at him. She's not ready for him to come. So if he look, anybody who looks at it from the outside can go, oh, I can't trust her to hold me, right? But I can trust her to not catch me. And so it's kind of looking at trust in a different way, right? Flipping it around a little bit. And when we start doing that, we can feel a little relief because now we're going to look at our partners with realistic expectations. And then we know what they're going to be able to provide us and what we're going to be able to provide them. So before we go on, I would like to take a quick pause and kind of maybe see some of you or hear some of you to kind of see where you're at, because then we're going to go more into like maybe some journaling or kind of feeling more into things together. We're going to do more like the experimental aspect of this. I talked a lot, so we'd love to kind of see where you're all at. Anybody? No, you're just going to make me continue talking. Okay,
I'll chime in for a second.
yeah,
Yeah, I think managing expectations is just like a huge thing to always overcome, right? We're constantly thinking about, oh, if I feel this way, they should feel this way. If I have a problem with like the house being messy, they should too, and they should like clean up too, or whatever. So yeah, I think that's something that I'm always trying to manage personally. It's a good thing to keep perspective of everybody's expectations and things like that. Yeah.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, and realizing that we don't all see it in the same way, right? We don't all look at the same issue through the same lens. It doesn't have the same meaning. It's not speaking to us in the same way. Yeah. Anybody else wants to jump in? Okay. So what I'd like to ask you to do now is if you have something to write with, that would be great. And if you're with as partners there together, maybe each of you have something to write with and just take this like as a little personal exercise to do. And before you write, I'm going to have you hands on bladder and close your eyes and take a breath. And feel into your physical body. Take another breath. Good. Now take your attention out, just like to the outside of your skin. So this is your first auric field. So if you take your attention there and breathe into that space and notice how comfortable or uncomfortable you're feeling right now. And take another full breath. And think of the word trust. Bring the word trust into your body. Maybe you feel it in your belly, or your heart, or your head. And then think about, what do you trust your partner to do or not to do? And see if you can write some of these down as they come up without overthinking them, without going too deep into analyzing anything. You don't have to share them. What do you trust your partner to do or not to do? What do you trust yourself to do or not to do? See if you can relax your upper back when you're doing this. What do you trust yourself to do or not to do? What do you trust your partner to do or not to do? What do you trust yourself to do or not to do? What would you like to trust yourself to do or not to do? What would you like to trust yourself to do or not to do? What would you like to trust your partner to do or not to do? What would you like to trust your partner to do or not to do? This is a big one. What are the stories you tell yourself about your partner? What are the stories you tell yourself about your partner? So, like how I did with the towel on the floor. The towel's on the floor, so obviously he does not care about me taking care of the house, which means does not care about me. What are the stories you tell others about your partner? What are the stories you tell others about your partner? Here you can think about certain words you use maybe to describe your partner. It can be positive, negative, neutral. Characteristics in your descriptions. Good. And then when you're done writing those down, you can put your hands on your belly and feel into that. Feel into what you wrote. Kind of gauge your own experience about how you talk about each other, how you think about each other, how you trust each other, and how you trust yourself. Good. Now, can you imagine the possibility of having the choice to let stuff go and to tap into a different feeling, to see something through a different lens, to see each other through different lenses when needed? What would it look like to choose joy, love, connection, and appreciation? Can you believe the idea that you can choose specific feelings and tap into them? Right now, choosing those positive, loving, high vibration feelings doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be okay with behavior that you're not okay with, right? So, like, if the house is a mess and you're not okay with the house being a mess, choosing love, connection, joy doesn't mean that you have to let those things go, right? If uh, whatever it is that bothers you, um, you know, it you can you imagine being in love, being in connection, and being in appreciation of the other person, and still going, yeah, I know why you do the thing you do, and I love you, and I'm good with you, and also I'm not going to accept that behavior. Is that a possibility? A lot of the time when there is conflict and there were issues, we forget why we're even with the other person, right? But most of us, assuming, probably all of us here, are the ones who chose our partner, right? We weren't like in an arranged marriage or, um, you know, were forced to be together, right? So, how do we come back to that connection that we felt towards each other in the beginning and that we most likely still feel towards each other at times, but it's not maybe as consistent as we would like it to be? How do we come back to that? And you can see here in this visual, this is what, when a couple is together, this is what their auric fields look like when they're feeling that joy and love and connection and appreciation. So, learning to communicate without the angry feelings, right? And if we take that sacred contract idea from before, right, that we're in relationship in order to evolve collectively and individually, then we can look at what is the emotional need or the wound that is looking to be healed and fulfilled, right? There's always something. We all come to this world with certain wounds. I'm not good enough. I'm not loved. I'm not heard. I'm not respected. I'm not seen. Um, those are like the most common ones. Not appreciated, not cherished. So when we're triggered, those wounds are the ones being triggered. And I hear it all the time with my husband. I'll hear it all the time. The main thing is not being respected, not being listened to. Those are like the common threads, right? And it's not just with me, it's with every relationship. So I can Notice that that's the wound. That's the wound that needs to be filled, right? For me, up till not long ago, the wound was not being heard. And so my work was to work on my own voice, to work on my ability to speak and communicate and express myself. It wasn't about finding people to hear me. It was about allowing myself to speak clearly and express myself fully. So the work is always starts within. It always starts first here before we try to have somebody else fix it for us or take care of it for us. In this visual here, you can see that each of these people are in their own field, right? Before we can go back to this, before we can connect into that space, we each have to have a whole field full for each of us, right? So we usually don't take the time to fully understand what that wound is, what what the wound is that is trying to be healed and fulfilled. So for me, like with the example of the towels on the floor, right? I'm feeling unloved, unappreciated, undervalued, right? And so if I look at it in an opposite way, what is the wound that's being trying to be healed and filled? It's being cherished, loved, right? If the space is clean and organized, right, then I'm feeling cherished and loved, and I'm being seen for what I do and appreciated for it, right? So that's how that wound is being fulfilled and healed. Now, if I take care of myself first and I already feel cherished and I already feel loved and I already feel seen and appreciated, then the towel is not going to bother me. It's going to be the last thing on my mind. I'm not going to care at all. So, can we take another moment and do some writing on this? So, when you're upset, what are the things that are upsetting you? You can just start with that. Just write down a few of the things that upset you. A gas not being filled after you drove my car. Uh, Bills not being paid on time. Uh, not, the kids, not putting the kids to bed on time when I picked them up from school. There's so many things, right? What are the things that upset you? And those are like the examples I'm giving are like super domestic, kind of like quote unquote simple things. There are such bigger things, right, that each of you might be dealing with in your own relationship. What are those things? What are the things that upset you? And can you read deeper into them? What happens if you look farther into what does that actually mean to you? What is being triggered in you? What needs are not being met? And we're all here with some big wounds. What are yours? What are those wounds that are being triggered? And I'm not even asking you right now to look at like where do they start or why are they there or how did they happen to you and what happened in childhood or all that stuff. That's not even important right now. What's important is what are you missing? What are you looking for? And what would healing them feel like? I really wish I could see all of your faces. So how do you already feel respected and cherished? Right? Our partners are already doing a lot of things right. What are some of those things that are working? What are some of those things that really you just feel so seen? You just feel so valued. You feel so taken care of. You feel so loved. You feel so respected. You feel so heard. You feel so listened to. What are some of those things? Write them down. It can be small, it could be big. We've been showing up to this tonight together. Huge. Giving you the space, if you're here by yourself, giving you the space to do this by yourself, do this tonight. Huge. Dare I ask if anybody wants to jump in or share anything at the moment? Okay. So now what? That was really fast how we went through those things and those questions. And usually like my things are like most of the uh time spent is like meditating and writing and going in and feeling. Blanca, do you want to share? I see you unmuted yourself.
Yes, just when he takes care of the kids, when he sees that you're losing your patience and he jumps in, that's helpful.
So beautiful. Yeah. What does it make you feel? Like what comes up for you? What wound does it support?
Well, in the beginning, I was kind of upset because I felt like he was undermining me or, not respecting my parenting. But then, we talked about it and he just saw the frustration and that's what he said. He's like, so we can give our best and you need a minute, to step away. So,
Yes, that's so cool. Absolutely. Like look at how the initial trigger, right? You're undermining me. And that's not at all where he was coming from. He was coming to support you, to give you a break, to give your child a break, to shift the dynamics, to provide for you. That's such a great example. Thank you so much for sharing that. Would anybody else like to share? Okay. So here's some suggestions as to how to proceed. And we did record this, and I can send out some of those questions for you to have to kind of journal on and take more time to work through on your own. And maybe like in the moment when things come up, you can, when you're doing your thing and you're frustrated or you're feeling things, you can go in and you can look at those questions again, kind of write some stuff down. But these are some of my suggestions as to taking this with you, right? So choosing a date night or a date time, but time together, And during that time, sharing the things that are working and why are they working? What feels good for you? So not just, I like it when you come in and you take over when I'm frustrated, but when you come in and you take over when I'm frustrated, I feel supported. I feel seen. I feel given the space to breathe. Um, it's like you're giving me permission. You're allowing me to go into my space and and relieve it all, right? So really trying to go in there and really express what it's providing you. And then what are you missing, right? So staying focused on feelings rather than like going into a place of blame. But I like, this is from Alison Armstrong, who I highly recommend. She's one of my mentors. And she uses the statement of, if I had it my way, and I love starting things that way, right? If I had it my way, da 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 da. So saying what you're looking for, what you're needing, by starting it that way. If I had it my way, you'd pick up the kids on Tuesdays and Wednesdays so that I can go work out during those times. If I had it my way, I would cook dinner 3 times a week and we'd figure out the other days somehow. If I had it my way, etc., etc., etc. And then the biggest part is connecting to respect and cherishing, right? So seeing each other's love and light. And I'll take note of that, and we'll do that before we close. We'll do a little exercise to see each other's love and light. What not to do. Don't blame, manipulate, and punish each other, right? Like, don't go into this is your fault, the shaming, a lot of the things that we're learning to not do with our kids, right? No punishment, right? Withholding sex is huge. I hear it all the time with couples. It's a huge type of punishment, and it actually depletes both partners. So, especially for men, sex is like food, and it creates hormones in them that uh, give them the desire to provide and take care of. And like they actually feel fed, right? So when partners deplete that as a way to punish each other, they're not gaining anything. There's no forward movement in any way. And I know that for some women it works, right? Like, it's because they, and I'm using air quotes, if you're not seeing me for some reason, if I'm just in your ear, it works as a form of manipulation. But what it actually does is it castrates the men, and it reduces their ability to show up for us in their power. That is key. Them showing up for us in their power and showing up in life in their power, and us showing up in our power, is the key to a thriving relationship. So when something like sex is being withheld as a form of punishment, it depletes them. And it actually makes both of us, not just them, men, not just you, but both partners go into a place of depletion. And so there's no place to connect, and there's no place to bond. And then the other thing that I hear a lot is threatening with divorce or with a breakup or moving out, or I'm leaving, I'm packing my stuff and I'm leaving to go live with my mom or whatever. That is also a manipulation that continually breaks the connection and breaks the trust that you're going to be there together, right? if you're married, you've made a vow to each other, and that vow, every time you use the word divorce or I'm leaving or whatever, it's that vow gets like, wait, what, what? And it kind of like withers apart, and it's confusing. It's very, very confusing and uncomfortable, and it tears pieces of us energetically. So yeah, if you can stop those things, those are already great ways to move forward. And then doing this on your own. So what you can do on your own is taking care of your own well-being. Finding ways to fill your own tank, right? How do you feel loved? How do you feel cherished? How do you feel respected, right? It's an inner job first, like I talked about a little bit. If you've never felt this way, it's going to be very hard to allow or to know when somebody else is already doing it for you, because you've never felt it for yourself. And cleaning up your past so that you can be present, right? Cleaning up the trauma, cleaning up the pain, cleaning up all the stuff that you came with, all the expectations on all the conditions that you've arrived with, right? That lens that we talked about, cleaning all of that up so that you're less triggered and you're more aware of reality. Any questions or comments to this point? We're gonna do a little meditation now before we end. How is everybody doing? Okay, so if you're all still with me, let's do a little meditation to feel into this. You can hold a hand on your heart and a hand on your bladder. Close your eyes. Breathe down your spine. Another breath. Again, feeling that first auric field around you, right outside of your skin, like a big orb around you, like you're sitting in a big egg of light. Breathe into your body, allow that light to start glimmering and shining. Let the light get brighter. Let it come out from your skin about an inch all around your body. Let yourself glow. And notice, is it easy? Is it challenging? You can hold your belly with both hands if that feels good. You can stay on your heart if that feels good. Good. And then start noticing your partner's auric field. So if you can imagine them, if they're right next to you, awesome. You can kind of feel into them without touching them. And if they're not in the room with you, you can just visualize your partner's auric field and light next to yours or in front of you. Actually, put them next to you. And if you can sense their physical body and what they look like physically, start changing that into light, into pure light. And keep breathing. If it's really hard, you can hold your belly button and heart. If it's super easy and it's smooth, you can hold your liver, which is under your right breast area, and your heart. Full breathing. And then just feel your partner's light next to yours. And keep feeling your own light shining. And just notice, is it easy for me to maintain my light while my partner is next to me? And energetically, ask them if they are welcoming, allowing your light to shine brightly. And feel what happens. And then ask yourself, do I allow their light to shine brightly? Am I comfortable with their light shining brightly? And allow your heart to spread some light out. And for the men in the room, allow your bladder area, this is your second chakra, allow that area to spread some light out. Front and back, your low back and your bladder. Allow the light to spread from there. And then let your lights get brighter and bigger. So now let them expand out. So before they were just like an inch from your skin, let them go out like 3, 4, 5 inches all around your body. And notice your partner's light getting bigger as well, getting closer to yours. There's a beautiful quote by Rumi that says something like, my job in life is not to find love, but to find all the barriers within me that I have against it and to dissolve those barriers. So as you're doing this, notice where there's parts in you that are just like, oh no, this is too much. This is uncomfortable. Can I get vulnerable? Can I get open? Can I get into that space of true intimacy when our lights are merging? Where my light is being seen and shared, and my partner's light is being seen and shared. And if you can, let those lights merge and do a little dance together. And keep feeling your own independence in there, right? You can still hold your own grounded space. You still have autonomy. Your partner still has autonomy. Your partner is still grounded in themselves. But your lights can merge and play together and do a little dance together. And focus on collective healing and collective connection and growth. Go back to both hands on your belly. See if you can connect into gratitude. Gratitude for where I can grow, gratitude for where I have work to do, gratitude for the support and the love and the connection and the playfulness, gratitude for the structure. And then when you're ready, you can come back and come out of that. And see if you can maintain that light for the rest of your night. And maybe carry it into tomorrow. And yeah, with that, thank you so much for sharing this space with me and allowing me to teach and support and guide. I'm happy to answer any questions or hear any comments about how that was for you. If you have anything specific that you would like to share with me and you don't want to do that here, you're welcome to get in touch with me, email me. I'm happy to hear and listen and support. Um,
Yeah, or maybe if you could share your email in the chat and
Sure, I can definitely do that. Oh, and I see Teresa had to go, and you're welcome, Jessica, and you're welcome, Justine. And this is my email. It's quantumdror@gmail.com. You're welcome, Amy. Everybody's so quiet. I wonder if it's because it's like bedtime. I mean, my son is also in his room going to sleep and with my husband, and I wonder if that's why. But here, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stop the recording. Sometimes that also helps people open up.